Hello gang, welcome back to the channel. I am sitting here in my shop and I've been messing with this guy, which if you follow the channel, you know that I'm going to be giving this away here soon. You're probably wondering, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Well, I had a lot going on in my life, guys. I recently had the kidney stones blasted and they put a stent in there. Let me tell you, that stent was so incredibly discomforting. It was awful. I called and I was like, "Can you move it up, please? Please take it out early." And they took it out. I'm still really sore from it. The whole kidney back pain thing is real. Anyways, so that's what's been going on, and hopefully I'll start feeling better now and everything. And that's really been holding me back a lot. I've got a lot of things that I'm trying to do, and I just can't do them because of that. So I figured I'd go ahead and just make a quick video showing you what I've done to this 372 clone, which is not much of anything, but it's a video. All right, so here's the cylinder. I got it timed out and everything, and the numbers were crazy bad on it, right? From the factory, we were looking at the exhaust was somewhere around 96 or possibly into the 95 range. So it was way too high on the exhaust. I removed the gasket, cut the base, also the squish without the gasket, the squish was 40 thousandths of an inch, right? And that's without the gasket. So with the gasket, it was probably into the close to the 60 thousandth squish range. So I went ahead and I cut the base. I got the squish now to 24 thousandths of an inch without running a gasket. And the numbers fell right here. We're looking at 73.8 on the intake, which is, 74, which is not bad, all right? The exhaust now is at 98, which is great. I'm going to leave it there. The transfers are opening up at 128.7. So what we'll do from this point is we'll go ahead, leave that exhaust alone. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to polish it. I'm not going to widen it. I'm not going to do anything. All right. I'm just going to leave it at 98. The intake, I will go ahead and I'll drop that probably to 78 degrees. Drop the floor of the intake, and then the transfers, I'll raise them up to probably around 124, maybe as high as 120, but not looking to make, this isn't going to be a race saw. This is going to be a good saw for people to use, whoever wins it. And my goal really is to do as little as I can and get it to run, hopefully neck and neck, or maybe even beat a Steel 500i. And that's not just with a short bar, but a long bar as well. And hopefully I'll be able to get it there with just doing the simple mods like I'm trying to do. And, some of you guys might say, why not do it all the way? Whatever, do as much as you can. Well, that's a good question. But again, if you follow the channel, I don't think that everything should be all the way. I think that there's a huge gap in reality with people and these chainsaws, and they like to say, just because this one's faster than this one, whoa, that builder's better. And it's just not true. It's just not true. What are you looking to do with that saw? And I want this saw right here. It's a clone saw. I don't want it to pump out 9 horsepower, right? I don't want it to. I want it to pump out maybe 7, and maybe 7.5, something like that. I want it to be a good, strong runner for somebody that's going to get it and enjoy it and utilize it for what it is. It's going to be a good work saw. I have a lot of feelings on the different grades of port jobs, and I find there to be some folks in this community that think if you're not shooting for top tier every time, then you're a hack. And I just totally disagree. This saw right here is going to be a good saw for somebody to enjoy and work with, and they're going to go, wow, that thing's hot. But, you know, like if they ran my farm hack, right? My farm hack right here, right? They would probably go, whoa, that's so much better, you know, right? But is it? No, it's not. That farm hack has a titanium wrist pin in it that's going to go at some point and blow the whole thing apart. You know, so there's different levels for sure. And I'm not looking to build Formula One quality here, because Formula One is really only good for one race, and then they rebuild it. Formula One cars, if you don't know, are built on the verge of needing a rebuild from the get-go, right? So they are loose and fast and high revving, and they're only meant to survive that one race. And well, I'm not looking to do that here. Now, does that mean to say that if I was to build this thing hotter, that it wouldn't last? No. I get that question a lot, you know, how it's such a vague question. And I understand it. If you don't know it, you don't know the answer. You're just asking a question and you're wondering, how long does a ported saw last in comparison to a stock saw? Well, depends on the port job. You know, it really does. A lot of people like to hide behind it and say, no, ported saws last just as long. Well, that's not true, because I guarantee that farm hack over there is not going to last as long as this blue one's going to last. You know, as far as any weird quirk that comes along and stuff. It's got higher compression. It's got that titanium wrist pin. It's had combustion chamber work, taking a lot out of that combustion chamber, which means it will run hotter, right? Than this guy is going to run, you know? So differences are real. However, if you're getting a port job done and people are just building you a work saw, 9 times out of 10, it's going to last just fine. It's not a big deal. So to address the question realistically, right? How long does a ported chainsaw last when compared to an OEM chainsaw? If it's a ported work saw, right, by pretty much anyone's standards, you're really not, you would have to do some crazy test to see if it lasts as long as an OEM saw, because the reality is it's no discernible difference in usage. You're still going to pull that thing out and you're going to fire it up and you're going to use it, and it'll last for 5 to 10 years and maybe more, right? But if you are using it every day, right, and that's your number one go-to saw, will you see diminished life? Possibly. But that's about all I can give you, possibly. But anyways, so this one right here, we're just going to go with a standard, what I would call a high C or a low B build quality for power wise. You know, I'm not looking to rewrite the rules and like, oh wow, this thing's crazy. I'm looking to make a good solid runner, and like I said, hopefully compete with a Steel 500i, which Steel 500i I think is probably around 7 horsepower on like Joe's dyno. Factory rating, I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, 7.5 horsepower. That's kind of what I'm trying to mimic with this guy right here, and I think that I'll be able to do it. Only time will tell. And if you guys are interested in winning this saw, then you need to watch the Splitfire 2265 video where I split this great big huge round of wood, and I split it up into firewood. You've got to guess the amount of pieces. So clearly just watch that video. As of right now, I think there's only 2 people that have guessed the sticks of wood, the sticks of firewood that I got. Let's say it's 160, right? Well, a lot of people have guessed around that. Only 2 people have guessed the appropriate number. I think that's as of right now. And then you have to guess the overall average weight of that entire big round. You'll have to do it on that video. And if you've already guessed in the past, that's fine. Guess again. Guess again. I'm going to be looking for the person who gets the right number of firewood sticks and the closest to the weight ratio, the average weight that I came up with on that block. And I don't care if it takes you 100 guesses. That's fine. The first person to get the closest wins. And anyways, I think it's going to be a good chainsaw. And I think that whoever wins it is going to be happy to have it, and it's going to be fun. So, but are you expecting, should you be expecting to grab this and take it to a race and win? Well, if you're going to a big race, no. If you're going to a small little race, oh yeah, it'll be competitive. It'll be good. So anyways, that's that for this video. That's what's going on. I'm feeling a lot better. Glad that stint is out, but I still am going to have some days of recovery and stuff. And here soon, I am fixing to go back down to Atlanta, Georgia, because some things are happening with my vehicles. I'm getting rid of the Nissan Frontier, and my wife's car is a Toyota Camry. That's going to go to my son, who's still in Atlanta. And then I found a truck in Columbia, South Carolina, that I've already put a deposit on, and they're holding it for me. And I'll be going down there and getting that very soon. I'm very excited about that because the Nissan's been a good little vehicle. I'll probably do a video because, why not? But it has been a good vehicle, but some things have happened with the electronics 4 or 5 times now, maybe 10 times. So it's got some little electronic glitches in it that I'm not liking, and for one, I kind of want to get out from under it for that reason before all hell breaks loose, and then next thing I know, I've got to upgrade the infotainment center and all that stuff or whatever. Also, my wife, she needs a better vehicle for the winters up here, her little Camry. While it did really well, she needs something better. And there's no point in me having the nice new vehicle. She should have it. And so we'll probably get her a RAV4. That's what we're looking at. I really want the Honda CR-V, but the Honda CR-V it's getting a little long in the tooth, style-wise. And like the brand new CR-V looks almost the same as they did in like 2010. It's like, come on, like update that thing. I definitely like my Hondas, but I'm smart enough to understand that the only real difference between a Honda and a Toyota is branding. And they're both high quality vehicles. Even looking at the new Mazda, what is it, CS50, I think. But you get the idea of what we're looking into those things. But both of us really like the Toyota RAV4, and I know that I'm pretty certain it is the number 1 selling vehicle in the country right now, which you get old enough and you have enough vehicles, you see the value in that. If it's the number 1 vehicle in the country, what's that going to do? What does that mean? Besides the fact that a lot of people agree with your purchase, well, what it means is parts are going to be dead cheap because they made a lot of them. Parts are going to be dead cheap. Insurance is going to be dead cheap. Insurance is going to be really cheap on that guy because There's a lot of them, and parts are cheap, and it's easier to repair and less costly to repair for the insurance companies. So now resale value is going to take a hit because there's so many of them. Why would they buy yours if you wanted to resell it? However, my wife is like, oh my God, she's like father time in that department. She will keep a car for a decade plus, So her last car, she had it for over 10 years, and then it went to my son, and it's getting a little long in the tooth. And my big problem is he's in Atlanta and I'm up here. And so what happens if that car breaks down, and is it worth it to fix and stuff? Because it's, like I said, it's a Honda Element, Honda Insight, and those don't have much value as it is. Even one in really nice condition, it's a 2010. Even one in really nice condition, it's really only going to be worth somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. And well, if that engine blows, or hell, just a water pump failure, the cost might not be worth it to repair it. So all these thoughts are happening, all these plans and stuff are inside my head, and sometimes I just wish I was an idiot. Life would be just so much more simple. But I think of all these things constantly, and on top of it, as nice as that little Nissan truck is, it's little. I'm big, and so I really miss being in a full-size truck. And without any hesitation, I can tell you that my favorite vehicle of all time was a 2002 Dodge Ram 2500. And now the 2500 held on to the old body style longer than the 1500 did. All right, so we're talking about the second gen Dodge Ram, second gen Ram, which that's why they're called first and second gen. Everybody, if you don't know that, right? Why is the first gen Dodge Ram called the first gen, right? It's because that's the first body style that they came with the Ram badging. Before that, they were just Dodges, right? And so it's a first gen Ram, right? A lot of people go, no, it's because of the Cummins engine. No, it's not. It's because of the Ram badging. First gen Ram was between 1981, I think, maybe 82. I know in 80 they were still just Dodges, but they went to Dodge Ram like 81, 82, and that lasted until like 92. Yeah, 92 or 93. And then you had your second gen, which is like 93, 94 to 2001, that's your second gen. So anyways, a second gen Dodge Ram was by a large margin my most beloved vehicle that I've ever had. I loved it, and I've always wanted to get back into that. The reason I got rid of it was because now I got that vehicle with like 215,000 miles on it, and it was just perfect. It ran so good, and I had the 5.9 gas Magnum engine, and it was a 2-wheel drive. I got it for $3,000, and it was just exceptional. And so I drove it, and and I put some brand new tires on it. Nice tires. I mean, they weren't anything out of the ordinary, but they're expensive. When you get to a 2500, they have to be 10 ply. I'm talking a lot, but anyways, you've watched this far, so you're listening. So I was doing a job for a friend. I was building a gazebo out back, and I had a good load of lumber. Like, it was with the trailer and all, it was probably close to 10,000 pounds. Let's say 8,000 pounds. And she had a really tight driveway, and I was backing up into it slowly. It was because it was really tight, so I was backing up really slow, and I was pushing all that weight uphill, and it burnt out reverse. And I was like, damn. And I can remember telling my son, because my son was helping me. I was telling him right there, I was like, see, this is why I need four-wheel drive. And he's like, what? And I was like, if I had four-wheel drive, this thing would be in four low. And then I could push this heavy load in reverse. Because that's the problem. You're not supposed to. Reverse is just meant to go backwards. It's not a heavy-duty gear. And so if I had four low, I could have put it in four low and then just creeped backwards with it and pushed that trailer, and I wouldn't have burned up reverse. But as it was, I did. And to rebuild that transmission, it would have cost me as much as it cost for me to purchase the truck. So I was a little bit happy because I was going to get a 4x4 and stuff. I won't deny that I was happy. But I didn't want to get rid of I called it Jesus. That's another, I didn't want to get rid of Jesus. It was called Jesus because the person who owned it before me had Dodge across the visor, and it was in those old Roman Catholic looking letters. So that's what I associate it with, Roman Catholic. And so I just was like, it's Catholic, it's Jesus. That's just what I did. I don't know, whatever. So I didn't want to get rid of Jesus, but I felt like I needed that four-wheel drive. And so I sold it, and man, of all things, it went to a dude. All he did was tighten up the bands on the transmission, and he kept on driving it. I was like, oh shit, if I had only known. But when you don't know much about transmissions, T-Dub, because I know that you're in a similar situation, right? So anyways, I've always missed Jesus, and so I'm buying another Jesus down south where they have very little rust. It's hard to find one of those second gens that isn't just beat to shit because people loved them, and they ran for a long time. The 5.2 Magnum and the 5.9 Magnum are, you can say a lot about their fuel mileage, but what you can't argue is their longevity. They run really, really well and for a very, very long time. And and people ran them for a long time, and they hopped them up. They put big tires on them. And especially if it's a four-wheel drive, they threw on the big tires and stuff, and that causes problems. So it's difficult to find a Ram 1500 4x4 that is in really good shape, the second gen, that's in really good shape, and is still affordable. And I have found one in South Carolina, and you'll see it whenever I get it. This truck it's got a little bit of rust in the cab corner, in one cab corner, but it's not bad enough. I can deal with that. If it was any nicer, then somebody would have already, then what it would be is a $15,000 truck. It's not. It's a $5,000 truck. And so if it was any nicer, then that means someone would have gotten it, fixed the rust, and repainted it. And then we're asking $15,000. And because it's only got 106,000 miles on it. It's a 2-owner vehicle, and 106,000 miles. And neither of the owners were the type of owners that put big tires on or anything like that. They just kind of drove it. They used it as their truck and probably had a different vehicle to drive on the daily. So I'm very excited about getting this Dodge Ram because it's been a long time and I really, really miss it. I think the second gen Ram is awesome. I used to not think that. I can remember telling a coworker of mine about it, and I was like, I don't know, I don't like them. And he's like, really? Why? Usually people love those. And I was like, I don't know, whatever. But once I got one, and I got it because it was a great deal, I was like, oh, I get it. I love these things. It rode nice. It had the best brakes on the planet. Had plenty of power to do anything I needed to do. just great. And this one, I know you're going to ask about if you know, all the dashes in these things just busted, just terrible. Now they make remanufactured dashboards for them, but this one is in such good shape, all right, that the dash is completely fine, which tells me it was probably parked in a garage or at least a lean-to or something like that, probably its whole life, so it's been well taken care of, and I'm excited to get it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys whenever I do get it. And so I'm looking forward to getting back into a full-size truck and it being a second-gen Dodge, because so far I've only owned one of them, and absolute best vehicle I ever had. I loved it. So anyways, that's what's going on in my life.